Hi, I'm Colin Mills. I'm going to be teaching the introductory course in Statistical Methods. So I've made a little video to tell you a little bit about what the course is about, and also, just as importantly, what the course is not about. I'd like you to take a little look at this before you start the course, so that we don't have to go through all of these things and waste precious teaching time. Okay, so without further ado, let's get on with what the course is about. So what then is this course about? Well, two things really. First of all, it's about describing and summarizing data, which you might put another way as saying making parsimonious representations of information. Secondly, it's about making inferences from sample data to a population that we're interested in, and that's going to involve us in talking about and learning about significance tests and confidence intervals. I'm mainly going to be looking at things from a finite population perspective. By finite population, I mean something like the human population of the UK, or all the teams in the Premier League, or indeed all the fish in the ocean. In all of these cases, there's no difficulty, at least in principle, of actually enumerating all of the elements in the population, though, of course, in some cases, in practice, this might actually be quite difficult. I'll also mention from time to time other sorts of populations, other sorts of circumstances, for example, so-called hypothetical populations, though this won't feature to a terribly great degree in this course. We start off with methods where the focus of interest is just one variable. We then move on to methods where the interest is in comparing two or more groups. Then we move on to methods for examining the association between two variables. And finally, we move on to methods for examining the association between one variable and many others, essentially different types of regression. Right now, all we have to understand by association is something like, does knowing the value of one variable help us to predict the value of another variable? There is no math in this course. I'll say that again. There's no math, at least beyond the four operations that everyone is familiar with from primary school. If you can add up, subtract, multiply, and divide, you'll be fine. There are a few concepts that make very brief guest appearances. Logarithms and a couple of special numbers. These will be explained at the point when we need them. There will be, however, notation using symbols, possibly symbols from the Greek alphabet, but there will be no algebraic manipulation. We'll make use of a computer program so we don't have to make many tedious calculations ourselves. That program is called R. Some of you may already be familiar with it or have used it. If you haven't, don't worry. You will learn everything you need to know for the purposes of this course during the course. The program is free. You'll get instructions about how to obtain it and set it up on your own computer. In fact, most of you probably already have had these instructions. Just as important as what this course is about is what this course is not about. It is not about learning to program or script in R. You may learn a little bit about this, but it is not the point of the course, and it's really important to understand that. R, for us, is just a tool to make the computations easy so that you can focus on the ideas and concepts. There are a large number, possibly an infinite number, of things that the course won't do. It won't tell you everything you need to know about statistics and quantitative methods. It won't make you an expert in statistical techniques. It almost certainly won't tell you absolutely everything you need to know, or possibly could know, which will help you analyse the data in your Master's or MPhil dissertation. To expect any of these things would be an unreasonably big ask in the 8 weeks that we have available to us. What the course will do is make you familiar with a small but very important number of key ideas, and it will give you a foundation for a smooth transition to the optional Advanced Quantitative Methods course. There are a number of things you should note. This is an introductory course. It's also an elementary course. It's designed to be accessible and helpful to people who've never studied statistics or quantitative methods before. It's an applied course. It'll be taught using a lot of examples, and there won't be much statistical theory. In fact, there'll be more or less no statistical theory in it. It is not a course on using R, and again I want to emphasize that. All comments and observations about how the course content, structure, or delivery can be improved are of course very welcome. Comments, however, to the effect that the course is too simple will be cheerfully ignored. The teaching arrangements for the course are as follows. It will take place in Michaelmas term, and each student will receive 3 hours of formal instruction. That will consist of 8 times 2 hours lectures, which are scheduled for Mondays, and 1 hour of a problem class, which is scheduled for Fridays. There are 2 types of assessment for the course. First of all, there is so-called formative assessment. This is stuff that you should do, but is not going to count for the grade that you get for the course. The formative assessment will consist of weekly problem sets which are to be completed in the student's own time. The solutions to these problems will be discussed in the weekly problem class and will constitute the weekly feedback. There will also be summative assessments. There are 2 parts to the summative assessment. There is a take-home problem set or exercise, which you'll do in your own time, and there is a formal exam, and that exam is open book. I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. All of the lectures and the classes will be given by me. Should you need to get in contact with me, this is my email address, and underneath it is a link to my home page. There is a textbook for the course. It's Alan Agreste's Statistical Methods for the Social Sciences, 5th edition. The edition is very important for reasons that I'll mention in a moment. You should purchase or otherwise acquire possession, or at least use of, this text for the duration of the course. One reason is that readings will be set from it on a weekly basis. The other reason is, as I mentioned, part of the examination, part of the formal assessment, the exam part of it, is so-called open book. Open book means that you will be allowed to bring this specific edition of the text into the examination. You will not be allowed to bring any other books, papers, files, or anything else into the examination, and you won't be allowed to bring anything but the 5th edition. If you try to do that, I'm afraid the exam invigilators will prevent you from doing so. So the edition, as I said, is very, very important. So, welcome to Oxford. Welcome to the course. I'm very much looking forward to seeing you all. Bye for now.